So, greetings and welcome, dear friends. And in this part, we will be discussing some continuous contents. And you sort of could say this is the first time that we'll be sharing content such as these with you. So, as a sort of introduction, you may know that sometimes you work with a version of the program, for example, the Revit 2021 version, but the file that is required from you is different. For example, it's a 2020 or 2018 version. So you definitely won't be able to save the higher version of the Revit file and in the lower version format. A method that is common is IFC output. As you probably know, IFC is an open beam format, and with it you lose a lot of the features of the model. And we've already discussed these in theories, but it's as if you've typed in something using Word and then you convert it to PDF. The PDF format is similar to the IFC that we have in the beam. And the amount of editing that you can do in the PDF file is much more limited than the Word format. There's a lot of things that you can do in the Word file that you're not able to do in the PDF format. And it's the same thing here. In the original Revit file, you have a lot of options available. But when you convert it to the IFC format, you're much more limited editing-wise. And it's possible that a lot of the elements, such as the door or the wall, will be converted as a model in place. And we won't see any actual features, just some information. But in this part, I'll give you some pointers on how to convert the later version of the file to the earlier versions using the Dynamo. So in a small project such as this, the process of remodeling may set you back maybe 10, 15 days or even a month. But try to envision this on a much larger scale, such as a mall, where you have a 30 or 40,000 or 400,000 or 500,000 square footage. Just try to envision a large project where you're either in charge, you're the beam manager, or you're either working as a modeler there. And if you come across a problem such as this in that situation, you can, as a modeler or an expert, a beam manager, convert the later versions of the beam file to the earlier versions. Although we don't have an actual conversion process here, we receive the data from the later version and then we command it using Dynamo to model it. And it's an actual interesting project, and I'll try to cover the general ideas, and you should try to figure out the details yourselves. I'll try to cover enough of the topics so that you'll understand the whole process. So in the same project that we're working with here, we'll leave the rebars alone. We don't have anything to do with them, but we just want the beams and the columns and the walls. So first, let's go over to the south view. And although we have some walls for the elevator, but we'll try to draw a couple of more so that we can get a general shape that's comprehensible. So for example, we can open up this level. Let's see, I can either use the wall tool or just select the wall that we have here in the plan. Alright, so then we can select the wall tool after that here as well. Then go over here and put this on height. And it's going to be up to the level of, well, let's see. Right now we're in the minus 2500. So let's see if we can select it over here as well. Alright. Let's see where the south view went. Alright, so it's 900 here. So we can pop back over here and select the level 900. Alright, and then we have the base constraint and the top constraint here as well. Alright, so now we're going to draw a wall here. Let's keep the location line on wall center line. I just want to demonstrate this part using a schematic here. So put this on height, and the top constraint is going to be up to level 4000. Then we can put in 0 for the base offset here. And you know what, let's go with level 900 for the top constraint. Alright, and then we get to the actual drawing. Let's bring it up to here. Then let's go back to the 3D view. It seems like the wall that we drew was architecture, that's why we can't see it here. So let me first go over here and put a discipline on coordination momentarily. Then I can select the wall itself and check the structural box over here. Alright, and then we can put the discipline on structural. Now let's go back to the plan here where we can see the wall. Alright, then I'll select the select similar tool, and I'll make sure the wall is structural, and then we can draw another wall over here, and then let's say draw another wall over here on the left. Alright, after that let's go up here, draw another one up to this point. Alright, and well, that's about it for now. Then we can go back to the 3D view. Alright, so now try to envision these walls that we've drawn here. Just have them in mind. So I'll save the file up to this point. And after that, I want to use the Dynamo tool to export these one by one and model them in a lower version. But because I only have the 2021 version here, I'll open up another file and do the same process in that one as well, just so that you'll know that the process won't be any different in other versions. So what I'm going to do first in the Dynamo is get the walls. First, I can use the right-click option to open up the category and make sure to put this on manual so that it doesn't crash. And then in the category, I'll select the walls. Alright, after that, I'll look for all elements of category. Open this up here, and then we can connect that to the categories. Press run, and alright, as you can see, we can get all of the walls. But I should also mention another important point here, because we had the same problem in another one of our works, and we used this method to solve it. So in some cases, you've completed the file using an earlier version up to a certain point. And then you'll either hand this over to one of your coworkers, or you'll update the version of your Revit file and then do the continuation of the modeling process in the same project. Now the contractor may want the earlier version of the file from you. And let's say you spent 2 weeks on a new version of the file. And so how can we only convert the newly modeled elements? So in order to demonstrate the fix for this, I'll go over to the Manage tab and create a parameter for it. So press Add Parameter, and then for the name, we can go with Transfer Elements. The type of the parameter is going to be yes or no under the other group parameter. And the elements that we want to convert here, first one is walls, and then we also have the structural framing and the foundation, and then the structural columns as well. And we'll also convert the floor. So these are the items that we want to convert in our example. Although it's better if I put this under the shared parameter type, because it may be useful later on. So I'll save it in the Dynamo and the files, and then the Revit old version folders. Alright, then I'll save the shared parameter here. Then I'll go over here to create the parameter group. Alright, so then we can press the new option, put this under the common discipline and the yes or no type. Then press OK. Let me just rename this and fix it. Then OK. The items are here, it's under instance type, so then I'll press OK. And so now if we select these elements over here, another parameter will be added here under the other type that says transfer elements. We can categorize the newly modeled elements using this option and whether if you want to transfer them or not. But here we're presented with another question. How can I distinguish the elements that I've modeled in the newer version and the model elements that I've modeled in the older versions of the file? This is a question that can be interesting, and first we'll cover the question and then continue the conversion process